Hello, Bengals fans. Good morning. This is Good Morning Britain. Good morning, Bengals, even. And it's a good morning for everyone, even though the Bengals lost 17-13 to the Washington football team. Early this morning, it was a 1 a.m. kickoff for UK fans. So hence why we're doing this GMB, this Good Morning Bengals. We do it after every late night, and we will do throughout the season. And joining me this morning is Peter Dadswell and Adam Wolford. Good morning, chaps.
Morning.
So,
Yeah.
I think everyone was very upbeat and positive last week. Perhaps not so much this week. It kind of felt like it was back down to earth against a quality defensive line, and the offense sputtered. The defense was pretty good. Shall I just end it there? Is that all we need to say about last night? Adam, this is your debut on GMB. Welcome. Let's start with you. What were your impressions of the game, first of all?
Well, glad I didn't stay up for it, to be honest. Watched the in 40 this morning, and it was what we saw last year, really. The offense was struggling. We got one first down, I think, in the first half, which is not good. Obviously, it's been highlighted already this morning about Jamar Chase having a few drops. He should have hauled in all three of them, frankly, and I'm hoping once the proper games get going, he will, but we just don't really know. Typical Bengals, though. First play, nice screen pass out to Mixon and holding. It was pretty much what we saw a lot last year. Was every time there seemed to be a big play that was called back and then a full start. It was a frustrating one. After, as you said, a promising game last week where I thought the offense did pretty well, other than the odd fumble. It was a bit more stagnant this week. The defense looked really good again, which we've got to kind of take solace from. They got some good pressure on the QB. Von Bell could have had a sack. Darius Hodge got some good pressure on Fitzpatrick. And in fairness, we need to concentrate on that side of the thing in pre-season, and then just trust that it's all going to click once everything gets going and once we've got Joe Burrow back there.
Adam mentioned it there, Pete. Jamar Chase is the headline, I guess, from... I mean, I thought it was quite a sloppy offensive performance, again, as Adam alluded to.
Yeah.
Penalties, QB wasn't sharp at all.
Yeah.
Drops, all kinds of things going on there. It's certainly in the ones, at least, anyway. But the headline will be Jamar Chase, 3 targets, 3 drops. Are you worried? I am a little bit, I have to say, because this has been happening all throughout camp, by all accounts.
Yeah.
And yes, we've got 3 weeks to go, but are you worried about Uno?
No, I'd like him to be in a different place right now than he currently is, but I'm not worried. We know he's got the talent. We know he's got the ability. It's taking him a while to settle. Not all first round wide receivers hit the ground running, right? It's disappointing, but last night the offense played. It looked like what it was, a preseason game. It was rusty. It was spluttering, and as Adam said, they were killing themselves with penalties, which is a familiar story. The only thing I take from the offense, in fact, from the whole game, the only thing I ever took from the offense was that even though the quarterbacks weren't very good, they weren't touched. They weren't hit. That O-line against a very good Washington D-line, including the ones and the twos, the quarterback was never touched. And that was good. I mean, I saw one egregious and one really, really poor play by an offensive lineman who was pushed so far back, it almost stuffed the run 3 or 4 yards behind. And I thought, who's that? And I had a quick look, and it was Trey Hill. Thankfully, it didn't stop the run. They managed to avoid that. But other than that, the quarterback was never touched, and that's great. But yeah, that offense was stuttering other than that.
Adam, I just need to touch on this because a lot of Bengals fans will be talking about it. Obviously, there was a huge debate leading up to the draft. Chase versus Sewell, it got to frankly ridiculous state. Pete's right, really. He's not where we want him to be like right now, but are all these drops and his kind of performance, if you like, in camp, I mean, is the worry here that it will affect him mentally going forward? There's no doubting his talent. You don't become a kind of a record-breaking receiver in college and not make some sort of impact on the NFL, I don't think. So I think he's going to be good, but I'm neither underwhelmed nor overwhelmed. I'm simply whelmed at the moment, and the thing that I don't want to happen are all these drops in his performance, because he's obviously a perfectionist. Him and Burrow together, you see them working on things and constantly going back and doing, kind of working one-on-one to improve. Is the danger here that he'll get his confidence will be knocked, and do you know what I mean? It will mentally play on him too much. I'm not talking to like John Ross levels here, but is that the worry with Jamar Chase?
That's the worry with all receivers, really, is that it gets in their own heads, is that they let this kind of thing affect them. I watched back the 3 clips because, unsurprisingly, there's already a tweet with the 3 drops highlighted.
Right, okay.
That was probably done very early this morning. The first one, he slipped a little, but it hit him in the numbers. He definitely should have caught it. The second one, he looked like he was worried of getting smacked. It was a crossing route, a slant, and if he'd taken it, he would have been hammered.
I think Landon Collins was bearing down on him.
He was a yard away, and he would have been clattered. I'm hoping, obviously, when it counts, he'll make that catch and he won't take his eye off the ball. But the third one, he stumbled a bit, but again, should have caught it. I guess the positive to take from it is that he's getting the separation there. Yeah. Admittedly, they were on short routes and they were only 10-yard catches, but they would have been 3 first downs. That's the frustrating part. So to get back to the question, the worry is that he takes it into the league season, but I'm hoping obviously a bit more connection with Burrow, and the closer bond that they've got will be just slightly. It's a matter of inches, really. It's just getting the ball in the exact right place, which could help him, and fingers crossed it will.
I'm glad you said the name John Ross, because what we do know is that they're chalk and cheese. They are, character-wise, they are so massively different. John Ross didn't have the caliber coming out of college. He was drafted well above his true level, and he had a somewhat fragile mental makeup. So when things didn't go well, when he was it a fumble on a jet sweep in his first real play? Yeah, that's right. And then he got in the bad books of Marvin Lewis.
And Marvin didn't play him again.
Yeah. But he wasn't able to recover from that. Whereas Jamar Chase is in your face, cocky, arrogant, whatever you like, and you need that. Look, to me, worst case scenario, you have someone trying to acclimatize to the pace of the NFL, and he takes half a season. Let's just say that. It takes half a season before he becomes a number 5 pick wide receiver, let's say. Okay, we don't want that, but if that's the worst case scenario, I'll take that. Because last season, when Burrow was slinging the ball all over the yard, we were doing it to T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, and Auden Tate, because AJ Green wasn't catching much. Right? So
he did catch 50 balls, AJ Green, to be fair, and I would actually take that from Jamar Chase this year as a rookie season.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, we had 2 very effective wide receivers last year, and we're doing well. If it takes half a season or so for Jamar Chase to hit his stride, we don't want it, but okay, we'll cope with it. He's not going to be a bust. We just need to just calm it down and don't worry about him too much. Just have confidence. It will come right.
But I guess the pressure on a number 5 pick is quite big, and it's certainly the whole LSU thing.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking that same way. We've just got to be patient with him. Let it come naturally. He's under the gaze, the harsh gaze of the media, the local media, fans. Everything wants him to succeed and do it quickly. But it might we've seen it in the past. College prospects that have come out who are absolutely surefire bets. I mean, you look at Peter Warwick, for instance. You know, I mean, he did okay, but he didn't set things on fire back in the early 2000s. We do have some messages. Washington FC UK 1. So we've got a Washington fan watching us. Good morning. Morning, gents. Loving seeing this from a Bengals view. We didn't play our best. No injuries on both sides, though. Well, I think Cam Sample, our rookie defensive end stroke defensive tackle, went out with a shoulder injury, but that was Zach Taylor came out and reassured everyone that was just a minor injury. But that, you know, that means Osai and Sample injured in consecutive games, and he did look quite good, Cam Sample.
Yeah,
But we'll come on to the defense in a second.
Yeah.
Because I think that was the positive from last night. I did see some good reps from Jackson Carman last night, you know. I mean, yes, okay, it was, you know, the seconds versus the seconds, but still, it's good for him to get his. He's a massive man. Trey Hill, how big is he? He's massive. But Auden Tate, you know, whatever you say about Auden Tate, he just keeps coming, doesn't he?
He just keeps doing Auden Tate things. He's never going to be 7 catches for 120 yards. He's never going to be that type of person. And well, there'll be the exception to the rule. He will be a 2 or 3 catch, but those 2 or 3 catches will be either 3rd down or 4th down, absolutely crucial ones, or spectacular highlight reel catches. And he takes some hits, does the big man. He really, really does. But he still holds on. He's got a fantastic pair of hands.
There was the one in particular, sort of down the sideline. He was sort of tangled up with the cornerback, and he just at the last minute sort of reached out and caught. It was just, I mean, wow, brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
I mean, you'd love to see him really step up his game in time for when we're due to renew his contract, because as a wide receiver 4, is he going to get a big contract from us? But when he does eventually leave, whether it's the end of this contract or whenever, we are going to have a fantastic highlight reel for him to remember him by, because he just comes up. I mean, I've still got a still shot of him with the catch at Wembley a couple of years ago. Just, you know, absolutely fantastic.
This is his contract year, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, probably is. 4 years.
Yeah, I think this is his 4th.
Anyway, I also want to give props to the special teams coverage. There's a few ones that leaked through, but Stanley Morgan is making a real. I thought last night was really good on coverage, as he has been since he's been in the league. And again, do you keep him on the roster in because of his special teams play, and do you get, you know? So it's Mike Thomas, Trent Taylor, Trenton Irwin, and Stanley Morgan all battling for those back of the room spots. So that's going to be very interesting. Yeah. But I did notice Stanley, you know, he's right down there as soon as a returner catches the ball. So I don't know. No wonder why they love him.
I would like to see us use our tight ends more. I've always said that, but we're not. And Mason Shrek made some plays last night. I also continue to like what we're seeing Thaddeus Moss. He didn't do a lot. What he did effectively. There was a very good screen pass, and he got walloped. But he's got much more mobility for a tight end than we're used to seeing. So I just love to see us use them more. Use Sample and Uzama and hopefully Thaddeus Moss will make the final 53.
Right. Anything else on the offense you want to talk about, chaps, or should we move to the defense?
I'm quite hopeful for Uzama coming back, because where he started last year, he was getting that Browns game where he eventually went out. He had quite a lot of targets in that one. I'm hoping we use him a bit more like that, because he started pretty well last season. So fingers crossed we'll go back to that kind of thing. I've been taking him last round in a lot of fantasy drafts just as a bit of a punt, in the hope that he comes back and gets involved a little bit more in the offense. And I guess time will tell on that one. But as I say, that Browns game on the Thursday night last season was a lot of targets to him, and then Drew Sample got quite a few after that. So fingers crossed we will use the tight ends when required and when it's an advantage to us.
My only other take on the offense is, God, let's keep Joe Burrow fit. Yeah, Brandon Allen, fine. He's a He'll be a dependable backup. That's all. He can win us some games, but that's all. But for goodness sake, let's not get down to numbers 3 or 4.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Brandon was not sharp at all last night. And just going back to Jamar Chase, I mean, I think one of you guys mentioned one of the passes that he dropped. I mean, it was slightly behind him, so the quarterback wasn't sharp.
No,
execution wasn't very sharp last night, and that's sort of slightly disappointing because, as you said, Adam, it felt like last year all over again. It was.
Yeah.
But anyway, I was going to say, to be fair, and we're going to get onto defenses now. To be fair, the defenses of both sides were dominant against the other. Yeah. So you've got to look at both offenses in context. The fact that the defenses were on top.
Yeah.
They just seem better on defense, don't they? There's no two way about it. They just seem better in every phase. Pass rush, run defense. I know that Jarrett Patterson got some nice chunks.
Yeah.
And he looked pretty shifty, I must say. But Antonio Gibson looked a threat, but mostly from screens, I thought, not necessarily the run game. Cheeto, he continues to look good. Trey Waynes, Jalen Davis again last night.
Yeah, he made play.
What you're getting with Bell and I saw Ricardo Allen make some plays last night, which was good to see. So I'm enjoying seeing the defense actually, and I thought the guy that got injured yet again that stood out for me was Cam Sample last night. I thought he was really good.
And Darius Hodge again, just like in the first game, he stood up. He made some plays. He had a quarterback hit which almost. The wide receiver managed to come back and get the ball and almost got a first down from it. But that was Darius Hodge. Look, it's concerning. We're all expecting a high-powered offense from the Bengals because of the personnel we've got. I think we will. I think we will still have that. I'm not concerned. If we can manage that with the people we had in place last year, we can manage even more this year. But the problem last year is that we couldn't stop. We couldn't stop the opposition. So it's great being able to score 30 points a game, let's say. But if you can't stop the opposition scoring 35 points a game, we've got a problem. So that's why they're focused on the defense. That's why there's been so many personnel changes. So I'm delighted when I've seen in practice that the defense have been on top of the offense. And that was illustrated last night. The defense stood out. It was better than the offense. And if that defense continues to be strong, because the offense will click in place. But when that defense continues to be strong going into the regular season, that's a good sign for us.
Yeah.
Adam, you agree with that?
Yeah, defenses are always on top in preseason. They have the, I'm not going to say easier task, but it is, frankly, because you're generally going against the weaker players. But yeah, I thought the defense was really good, and they got a lot of practice. They were on the field for 40 minutes, according to the stats. So, but we didn't really let them inside the 20. We were letting them get down the field very slowly because they were having to grind it, and they didn't really get too many good chances. There was
that's one of the notes I wrote. Bend don't break defense.
Yeah. Couple of nice fourth down stops, couple of nice turnovers, nice play from Darius Phillips, toss it, just kind of almost deflecting the ball or scooping the ball up to Marcus Bailey for an interception. Good to see Marcus Bailey on the field consistently. Actually,
should have had more as well.
I think
Marcus Bailey,
because there's been a lot of concern expressed at the lack of experience of our linebacker room. I think it's worth commenting that for the second game in a row, those linebackers have looked effective this year. Logan Wilson was good. Of course, he
caused a fumble. He caused a fumble, didn't he?
Yeah, he punched the ball out. Marcus Bailey had a couple of nice plays, and were it not for the replay, he would have had an interception there. We gave up some yards on the ground, and you can say, well, that's on the linebackers, and it wasn't. That would be unfair to say that. But Washington, when they threw the ball, their yards came from short passes. They dumped it off, and then they had no real chunk running plays. That it was just grinding it. And once we got our 2s and 3s in, we started conceding more yards. The linebacker room was effective. I think I was pleased with what I saw.
Yeah, definitely. I think Logan Wilson stepped up. Good to see Marcus Bailey, Jordan Evans, and all those guys.
ADG did well.
Yeah, and even Jermaine Pratt, I think they're a more cohesive unit. They feel like this year, and everyone kind of knows their roles. Yeah, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with the defense, you know. So
Jackie had a really bad whiff on a tackle, which cost us the first down. So that was a bit.
He's been okay though in recent.
Yeah, I mean he was good in the first preseason game. I just it was just an error that really jumped out at me last night. But
yeah.
So I guess with all that being said, there's positives and negatives, and as Adam rightly said, it is preseason. The defense have got it slightly easier. The offense is still. I mean, Washington weren't great either on offense, really. So I mean, we've only got one preseason game left to go. First game is on
Sky.
On Sky next week. We won't be doing a Good Morning Bengals next week because it's 9 o'clock, so most people will be watching, I would imagine. So where are we? Do you think? I think there's lots of positives and a few negatives, and there's still plenty of time to work these things out, right? That's the sensible, reasonable view, I think.
I'm disappointed the game against Miami is on Sky because I would much rather the more local representation. So we've just had 2 away games,
where the commentaries everywhere.
Yeah, they're just talking non-stop about the home side, which I understand. I get that. And the moment we get our one home fixture,
I know, right?
And you know what's going to happen with Sky. They're going to be all over Miami. But I know. Listen, it's preseason, and I think I commented on Twitter last week that. And there was a little bit of debate. Is there another professional sport in which the friendly or pre-season fixtures bear absolutely no similarity to the proper game when the season starts? It's just so different. So this is a case. Pre-season, especially the last few games, is all about the players at the back end of the roster trying to earn a spot on that team or another team. It's knocking off a bit of rust, and the season starts in earnest against Vikings.
Adam, who's caught your eye so far on either side of the ball? Give us a couple of players that you've really enjoyed watching so far. That perhaps you didn't expect them to play as well, or perhaps you did. I don't know. Give us a couple of players that you've enjoyed.
No, there's a few players I was trying to keep an eye on, and there was Osai last week, who obviously it was fairly well advertised. He had a very good game, and fingers crossed he'll be back for game 1 with the wrist injury. It sounds like he will be, but obviously pass rush is where we were lacking last year, and we let Carl Lawson go, who unfortunately is out for the season, which is gutting for him. I was looking forward to seeing him in a Robert Saleh defense. I thought he was going to be brilliant, but for our side of the ball, obviously we need more pass rush, and as you said, Asai last week and Sample this week was looking good. Hodge has been getting pressure, which you've mentioned. I thought Chris Evans has looked okay in running back when he's been coming in. We need really the third down back again now, because we obviously Trayvon Williams with Gio leaving, we need someone to step up there as more of the pass catching back. I'd imagine it'll be Joe Mixon, which it should be, and then P. Ryan taking a few more of the running plays for the coming season. But yeah, for me, it was more keeping an eye on the offensive line and seeing how that unit does, and just concentrating on our weaknesses from last year, seeing if we can improve them. And as you've said, the offensive line unit kept him clean for the whole first half, pretty much. And for me, that's what I'm looking at, is can that be solid enough to get us moving? And the defense, can we stop the run? Because we were allowing the run last year. It was good to see DJ Reader get a few blocks early on when he was playing after last season.
One of the plays I made note of at the time was when there was a wide run by the Washington team, and I was watching Reader, and he tracked across and he made the tackle almost on the touchline. Now, this is a 345-pound behemoth of a man, and he was going sideline to sideline, and that was great. It was interesting you mentioned about the running backs. I think that's going to be a very interesting decision for the Bengals to make when they come to their roster. How many they're going to carry? Mixon has been injured almost every season at some point. P. Ryan is a similar big back. As you said, that the third down back, is that going to be Evans? That they certainly like him, but Patrick keeps on stepping up in these preseason
Yeah.
games. I mean, he's a big back. Are they going to keep 3 big backs? Are they going to keep 4 running backs at all? Paul doesn't think so, shaking his head. But he was.
Well, I just say, I think I said on the podcast last week, Patrick is kind of like you say, your bigger back, and they're not going to keep 3 big backs. I don't think. They've got Mixon and P. Ryan. I think it'll be 1 or 2 of the other 2. Evans or Travion. And I think Travion's got to play next week if you possibly can, because at the moment I would imagine he's lagging behind a bit.
Yeah, I agree.
Because they need a third down back, and Patrick is not a third down back.
No. But I mean, he was very effective though. He was very.
Oh yeah. I mean, if anything, if he gets onto the practice squad again and he clears waivers, then he's got some decent tape to put on. He was quite good last night, but again. That was against the seconds and the thirds, that he was playing. So that's all. You always have to mitigate these things, with who they're playing against. Really, what players they're playing against.
The other interesting thing is going to be the makeup of the O-line, because after the first game, and everyone's been poring over depth charges and who's been playing with the ones in this training session and who's not, and jumping to conclusions. And we should just stop doing it, because I think if I remember rightly, the person who was 3rd on the right guard depth chart, Suafilo, I think he started last night.
He did.
Yeah. So Paul Dana reckons that will be the starting line for the Vikings game.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. It would be the safe option.
Yeah, absolutely. We just have to believe that Pollard knows what he's doing and just have trust in that.
But I still think out of everyone, Deontay Smith has impressed me the most in terms of impact as a rookie. I think he's brilliant. Evan McPherson looked good again last night.
Yeah.
I think he's winning that battle at kicker, isn't he? So he's starting to come together slowly but surely. But I mean, I think the offense needs to get in some sort of rhythm, because they weren't in any rhythm at all last night, were they? Okay, well, that's it for now. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a great weekend. Nathan and I will be back on Monday with the podcast. Just a reminder, we do have a written fanzine being produced for this season. It's called You Don't Live in Cleveland, so check our social medias for details about that. Pre-orders are being taken now, and from what I understand from Duncan, the guy who's putting it together, is they're selling out fast. So we'll put on details throughout this weekend, and I think Duncan's going to come on the podcast to have a little chat about it on Monday. So that's to come. The Miami game is next week at 9 p.m. No daft, idiotic kickoff times for British fans. But a big thank you to Pete and Adam. Thanks, guys. Have a good Saturday, and we will see you soon. Have a good weekend.
Good day.
See who.